Good morning. I'm going to read something today. I got fried 2 days after, 2 days straight after that interview with James Martinez. I was in the bathtub with this hat on, a cool migraine ice cap. I had a bath full of Epsom salts, the power turned off, you name it. I was getting fried big time, very disoriented, couldn't even focus on nothing. Anybody who prayed for me, much appreciated. Thank God they let it off till next time. Then on top of that, V2K telling me, commenting on everything I do, all that. I want to share this Bible verse, then I'm going to share some really good information Brian too sent me. Very good information. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange things happen to you. But rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be exceeding glad with exceeding joy. 1 Peter 4:12 and 13. Okay, today I'm going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. V2K, remote neural monitoring, false memory references, false memory, active memory, all that. All right, so this is Brian Two's information he shared with me, and I will be posting it in the description as well. Occult, haunted houses, and other spoofing tactics used to deceive and manipulate even government informant provocateurs and perpetrators to their own destruction. As such, sounds and voices can be forced into the target's perception, as can thoughts, real and fabricated memories and impulses using a combination of directed electromagnetic energy and nanotechnology. Hence, the CIA, the DoD operatives can read your thoughts, see through your eyes, hear through your ears, and maintain a direct auditive conversation with your mind. Once your brain has been entrained and fully mapped into a cognitive model, essentially they have turned the brain of the very own mind control victim into their very own visual, verbal, and auditive communication systems. The CIA and NASA perps are using a fabricated, falsified stream of electromagnetic energy that contains a carrier frequency, specifically tuned to the unique, one-of-a-kind brainwave signature of the mind control victim to interfere with your memory and thought process. They obtain the brainwave signature by moving close to the victim and entraining his or her brainwave EEG pattern. Once you become dependent, or you believe their impulses are your own, the impulse injections are your own, on the system's output, or they believe your responses to it are consistent, they will begin to fabricate subconscious responses, which they will pretend are indicators of honesty, dishonesty, positive recognition, anxiety, etc. And they will use these impulse injections to convince you that the fabricated responses are your own. If you are unaware of this constant mental manipulation, the system will begin to shape your thoughts and behavior. They will use this to attempt to restrict your thoughts and behavior by blocking, interfering with your memory and thought process. While these suggestions, inserted impulses are being provided, the interference is triggered and can be activated at will by the attackers. These remote neural attacks include voice of God weapons as well as impulse insertions designed to make you believe God is speaking with you verbally or intuitively or by way of thoughts, images, symbols, etc., and is entirely believable by those who have never heard or experienced biocommunications technology before. So that the mind control victim is convinced that God, angels, demons, devils, or aliens are trying to speak to him or her because the technology is too advanced to be from Earth. They use this technology on me. This is Brian too in 1997 and 1998 after I returned from Nicaragua to the Cayman Islands. What happened to him. He said, as I was walking past the police station en route to the British West Indies campus of the University of Liverpool, I passed at a distance a man and a woman standing in the entrance of a police station. I audibly heard a male omnipotent voice say to speak to him. No one was around anywhere near me, so I knew the voice had not come from anyone. Immediately, I received thoughts and impulses about God. Believing it was the Lord speaking to me, I walked back and forth past the entrance of the police station watching the man, but saying nothing to him. Then, thinking I was hearing things, I continued my walk to the University of Liverpool campus. I always regretted that thinking it was God speaking to me, only to realize much later in life I'd become a non-consensual human experimentee by the CIA DoD research and development in mind control technologies. That started in 1997, 98, 18 years ago. It could go back even to my childhood. The day after I filed a federal government lawsuit in 2011 against the federal government for it, they moved me from state of the art mind control to trauma based mind control. It's been brutal and systematic torture ever since, with my specific emphasis on my targeting my heart, ears, and brain. Although all my internal organs have been damaged with this technology, including severe acoustic trauma, nerve damage to both ears so I can no longer hear properly, and everything sounds distorted. And that is why Brian too can't do an interview. When I talked to him and I asked him to do an interview, he said he couldn't because when we talk, he has to hang. I have to listen to him, and he has to hang up real quick because when I talk, his eardrums have become so damaged from the technology and stuff that when I talk, it sounds like a high pitched squeak. So he can't talk to nobody on the phone long or do interviews because he can't wear headsets and nothing like that. Which you don't need a headset, but I'm just saying his when you talk to him, the speaker outlet just pierces his eardrums. So he'll call, say what he's got to say, and then we'll text. The reason the CIA and DID operatives are able to get away with these atrocities and crimes against humanity is because their perceived 70, 80-year gap between military and civilian technology. Indeed, a lot of these haunted houses and demon possessions are nothing more than fabrications of the CIA DOD to determine what society and the common person can maintain as truth. Many of these hauntings, possessions, etc., are false and fabricated, though not all. The effects are real, but the demon possessions, for example, are nothing more than trauma based mind control, multiple personality disorders brought about by the CIA DOD operatives. Demon possession does not happen here in the USA, but not to the extent, does happen here in the USA, but not to the extent that the religious believe it to happen. Trauma based mind control is based on neuroscience, psychology, and systematic torture and ritual abuse, effectively marrying science to the occult. They use scripts based on haunted house, God, angels, Satan, demons, etc., a lot with mind control technologies. The object is to create extreme psychological fear and paranoia in the victim, which is necessary for trauma based mind control to be effective. The main objective is to so traumatize the mind control victim they can no longer function in society, causing them to physically and psychologically begin to shut down, so that the mind control victim will begin to isolate themselves from everyone, including family and friends. That is necessary because they must isolate the mind control victim in order to minimize all external interference in order to force the trauma based mind control victim into internalize, internally focus on the neuro-programming for it to be effective. This trauma based mind control technology is based off the opposite of the theme of the movie called Clockwork Orange, where scientists use a combinations of psychological conditioning, hypnosis, and behavior modification techniques to try to turn a bad person into a good person. They try to take a violent person and turn him into a peaceful person who was shut down in the face of extreme violence. Trauma-based mind control works the opposite of the movie Clockwork Orange. CIA and DOD operatives use the technology to try to turn a good person into a bad person, or a bad person into an evil person. A peaceful person into a violent person who will inflict damage and destruction on their community, family, etc., on command, such by trigger stimuli. That's why it's important to never give in when you feel violent tendencies. Don't try to calm yourself down. Do not act in violence. Do not react in violence. Do not destroy people's properties. Do not do none of that. It's not worth it. They win if you do that. Do not commit suicide. They win if you do that. CIA DOD mind control is a weapon system based on cognitive warfare and psychological warfare. The object has turned the trauma-based mind control victim into a weapon who will inflict destruction on others who are self-destruct. The amount of damage and destruction the trauma-based mind control victim inflicts on his community upon others is important for metric for determining the effectiveness of the CIA and DOD's research and development behind the cognitive warfare strategies, which trauma-based mind control is based on. Mind control, remote neural manipulation, and remote neural monitoring works very well when accompanied by, say, dream modulations, induced visions. And it's important to know the difference between remote neural manipulation and remote neural monitoring. All right, it says it works very well when accompanied by dream modulations, induced visions, to make the mind control victim believe gods, angels, demons are speaking to them, such as in the form of a dream. Of course, for many trauma-based mind control victims, these dreams will become nightmares. Objects in the house will begin to move on their own, which the CIA DOD operatives accomplished by using a concentration of energy known as synthetic telekinesis, which is very real and can be replicated by a common person using cellular radiation and organic material found in a common home, though much to a lesser degree. Hot and cold sensations, voices, sounds, images, objects moving on their own are replicated to create a haunted house, a haunted based on the mind control victim's belief system. If the mind control victim's Christian, it will be demons based hauntings. If he or she is Muslim, it will be jinn based hauntings, and so on. This allows the CIA DoD operatives to spoof a target individual community or community into some type of emotional response or action or access sequence for the purpose of remote neural manipulation and ultimately direct behavioral control. In the first Gulf War in 1991, many a thousand Iraqis surrendered. I mean, thousands of Iraqi soldiers surrendered with their arms raised and weapons dismantling, saying, Allah told us to surrender and dismantle our weapons. It was not Allah. It was CIA DID mind control technology at work. This is a good example of how they mass manipulate population's religion against them, as we can see even was possible even back in 1991. The technology manipulating the belief system of a population is very effective on religious countries, as most Middle and East countries are. Indeed, just about the whole is religious to some extent. Although God and Jesus are very real, these sightings of the Virgin Mary, saints, Muhammad are fabricated, falsified holograms designed to manipulate the belief system of the populace to subdue or radicalize them. This also allows the DoD operatives to manipulate entire populations and nations at a time and about a square kilometer in width and size at a time, because the width is the bit of the stream, is the width of the bit stream of This is the width of the bit stream of fabricated, falsified energy after it's routed from a computer multiplexer to a tower, satellite, or mobile platform, then on to the targets, or should I say, survivors. So for now, it's about that size and the diameter. This allows them to manipulate a country's populace against governments, which the CIA deem hostile to American hegemony, while simultaneously allowing for degrees of indirection and plausible deniability. Of course, mind control has been going on for thousands of years in the form of organized religion, and more recently by governments with their propaganda machine known as mass media programming, and especially religious programming. They control the mainstream mass media, but it cannot control the internet because it's too decentralized. So they flood the internet, manipulating key search terms, search engines, forums, etc., with disinformation, misinformation, misdirection tactics, to such an extent that the truth is drowned out with the intent that the populace will not be able to rely on these internet sites as a source of truth, thereby forcing them back into the public arena of mass media programming and government talking points propaganda machine, where information can be more easily guarded, controlled, and manipulated. The thoughts, impulses, and memories implanted in mind control victim are very subtle and subliminal, more so at first to make the mind control victim believe the God of their religion speaking to them, wanting them to do something or say something, or to pitch them unwarily into an action or access sequence, which is almost always tied to doctrines of their belief system. Those who know nothing or very little about mind control and even less about their religion are easily susceptible to the cognitive magic tricks of the CIA DoD operatives, especially as they play into their previous religious experiences. This is because religious experiences are, by human nature, intense and life-changing. So the idea is to make the mind control victim believe their God of choice is speaking to them. The operatives artificially insert impulses, thoughts, or emotions into the mind control victim's brain, accompanied by a direct energy pulse, causing the goose flesh experience to make the religious target believe they spiritually came up with the idea, or that it's truly a religious theophany, giving them a eureka or hallelujah experience. This makes the fabricated, falsified religious experience seem more intense and important in nature. These mind control remote neural manipulations, remote neural monitoring tactics work very well when accompanied by impulse injections and memory management tactics to make the victim believe gods, demons, etc. are speaking to them. The effect is amplified when an omnipotent voice calls your name and begins to tell you what you're thinking about. If this omnipotent voice can read your mind, it must be God, right? Wrong. It's called remote neural monitoring, which is only effective once they've entrained your mind to their remote neural monitoring system and fully mapped out your brain. Only then can they effectively read your thoughts, minus any significant external interference. The system is full of fatal flaws and can be easily defeated by, say, listening to pleasing music, which effectively jams the incoming information and insertion feedback loop as they try and manipulate your brain. This is because the brain aligns itself to the dominant stimulus, which is the pleasing music, away from the fabricated, falsified information contained in the stream of energy. with the electromagnetic emission spiking up all over the place because of the thoughts and memories you associate with pleasing music, there's no coherent pattern for them to decode and integrate back into the remote neural monitoring system. Remote neural manipulation is even more difficult and is accomplished via their system's ability to interpret your thoughts and is wholly dependent on its ability to predict and influence your reference choices or influence impulse sequencing. During thought composition, the system maps patterns and impulses with identifiers, evoked potentials, and uses statistical data about your composition habits to predict how you will think or act as you begin to formulate thoughts or prepare to act. The system's ability to define and map these references intelligibly depends on your cooperation or ignorance, and the attacker's ability to make sense of what they can see visually or what they can guess based on your past activity. The remote neural monitoring system is designed to constantly manipulate, interrogate the mind control victim in all interrogations. The first step is to always confuse and disorient the target, which is much easier to accomplish when the victim is unaware it's happening and believes he is a demon possessed or victim of a haunting. Everything they do is a game of deception and manipulation. Do not accept anything they say as truth and do not acknowledge anything the system interrogates you about as truth. The remote neural monitoring mind control system will take random bits of anything it captures through your senses and fabricate stories which are used to harass and interrogate you with no intention other than to distract you, torture you into submission to the system's influence. Just about the whole world's religious to some extent, so they use gods, angels, demons, scripts which are specifically tailored to the target's religion or belief system. If the target's atheist or agnostic, they may use another cognizant such as aliens, which will be believable because, again, the technology is too sophisticated to be from Earth, or because they say the targets looked up and saw a UFO over their house, which is actually a hologram. These remote neural monitoring and remote neural manipulation tactics targeting a person's faith belief is also very effective when combined with the voice of God weapons or synthetic telepathy or the unknowing victim. They can even make the victim or the victim's friends or family believe he's demon possessed. For example, they can manipulate the body in such a way as to change their facial expressions over a period of time by damaging the muscular tissues in the face or other areas of the body. They can make the victim's pupils become dilated, giving them a sense of they are demon possessed. Additionally, by using continuous fabricated and falsified stream of directed energy specifically tuned to the victim's brainwave signature, they can manipulate the visual cortex of the victim's brain and can make the victim see objects, images, symbols, which are not really there, such as using wake-up visions. For example, they were monitoring, this is Brian too, they were monitoring my television, internet, and viewing habits, and I saw I was interested in ghosts, demons, spirits, etc., as they relate to the Bible. So one morning I woke up to the words, "Time to get up, Brian," and immediately I woke up in the tall giant of a man dressed in Eastern middle-aged clothes with a giant medallion around his neck was standing over me smiling. Then in a few seconds he disappeared. Again the next night I suddenly woke up to find an old lady standing over me with outstretched hands. Within a few seconds, she's disappeared from my visual field. This happened every night in various ways for weeks until I researched how they use direct energy waves to manipulate the visual cortex of the brain to create temporary visual images, objects, etc. So for anybody saying they're seeing stuff, that's how it's done. Of course, when all this is combined with nightmares, dream modulation, objects moving on their own, it can be scary. But I was never fearful. This is Brian, because I'm a born again Christian, knew my God was greater than all of it. Good for him. Especially their technology, which doesn't even work half the time effectively and can easily be defeated by spontaneity, which I've talked about, multitasking, which I've talked about, quenching or redirection, which I've talked about. But that's beyond the scope of this article. This, however, exposes the fatal flaws in their mind control technology. You see, man is a triune being made of a body, soul, and spirit. In simple terms, the human body's five senses: taste, touch, sight, hearing, smell. The human soul's will, intellect, and emotion. The spirit's conscious. It is not the soul, but the spirit, or conscious, which drives human behavior. It is the conscious or lack thereof from which the guiding impulses and emotions spring forth. Remorse, guilt, compassion, regret are all driven by the conscience. The body says, "I want to do this," and the spirit of conscience says, "You shouldn't do that." Where's the decision made? In the soul or in the will, intellect, and emotion? It's not the soul, but the spirit which guides and drives human behavior. And this is a fatal flaw in their technology because while they have mastered the human body or five senses, and while they will soon master the human soul, will, or intellect, or emotion, they will never be able to master the human spirit of conscience. This is because it's not physical but metaphysical, meaning it cannot be replicated. Pull my glasses off that hat. The Faraday hat's good and all, but man, it gets hot. No matter how sophisticated their technology gets in the future, conscious computers will never be able to master, understand, and control the true driver behind human nature, the conscious. This is because it does not exist physically but spiritually. It's a metaphysical gift from God to help a person discern a spiritual, moral, or ethical matter that cannot be replicated or duplicated because it exists not in the physical realm but in the metaphysical realm and is personal and proprietary to the individual. Indeed, some have ignored their conscience so long they no longer have one. Their hearts have become hardened that not even God could reach them. At that point, the Holy Spirit is recalled from them forever, and the tears and prayers of 1,000 saints can't help them. It's over. God's word says, the Most High's word says, he who ignores my repeated conviction shall be cut off forever, suddenly, and without remedy. He who being often reproved hardens his neck shall be suddenly destroyed, and that without remedy. Proverbs 29, verse 1. So as you can see, the belief system, faith, or religion, the mind control victims, a favorite target of DoD trauma-based mind control operatives for the purpose of non-consensual human experimentation and research and development. Indeed, they are constantly destroying, seek and destroy, this is Brian talking again, his faith using remote neuromanipulations such as neurolinguistic programming. Each day and night, my ears, this is Brian, ring from the fabricated, falsified stream of direct energy specifically tuned to my brainwave signature. I hear many of the words they are using, such as demons, devil, God, darkness, etc. One morning I awoke to remain motionless in my bed, my eyes closed, and could see the images and horror videos that were playing over and over in my head, such as bright disco light, brighter than the sun, being totally eclipsed with a disc of total darkness. Simultaneously, the operatives were using this chatterbox special language software program to say the following words over and over repeatedly in a looping pattern. Jesus, and they were saying Jesus is darkness, Jesus, etc. Here's how they're doing it. The brain and central nervous system, which controls the cardiovascular system of the victim, can be manipulated and controlled by the nanotech, etc. in the body of the victim and stream of directed energy specifically tuned to the victim's brainwave signature. So again, a computer multiplexer routes to the signal to a tower, satellite, mobile platform, then tower. Then the tower satellite or mobile platform relays the signal to the digital receiver. I don't know if y'all can, well, you can't see it, but my glasses are fogging up because my head's heating up so much. Relays the signal to the digital receiver similar to how the cell phone technology works. The digital receiver is tracked and pinpointed in real time just like a cell phone. That's how they tracked me when I threw my phone away, hopped the train, went to sleep, woke up in Shreveport, from Atlanta to Shreveport, miles away. Tracked me, was on me within 10 minutes. Due of time, just like a cell phone. I was a digital receiver. However, the digital receiver is not a phone, it's a human mind. The brain of the mind control victim has been digitalized by nanotechnology in his body, which they placed in his body, causing him to ingest it in his food, drink, etc. Hence, the CIA DoD operatives are able to tune into the brain, central nervous system of the mind control victim, similar to how a person can tune into another person's cell phone by dialing a specific number of frequency. Isn't it rather more than just coincidental that many of these so-called haunted house, paranormal experiences all have one thing in common? All possess a high electromagnetic energy field when measured for paranormal activity. Coincidence? I think not. Sounds like the paranormal people that are doing all this stuff are having their buddies that know how to manipulate these weapons help them. Anyway, I hope that helps everybody. I'm in the process of trying to get that declaration that James Martinez talked about. Anybody interested, please email us at targetedtestimonies@pm.me or hollyspunk@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in coming on the show and talking about just any information, giving your testimony, talking about a certain subject that you feel needs to be talked about, let us know and we'll schedule you. God bless all TI, satanic ritual abuse survivors, and mind control victims, non-consensual experimentation, MK Ultra survivors. Man, I don't have nothing else to say. God bless. I'm sorry, they're scrambling my mind right now, and they do this every time, so I'm just going to shut up.